And good evening, good morning. Let me check if everything is working correctly. The sound. We don't want music. You can put whatever music you want. Let me start recording. because we will talk about so many good stuff today. So if you can hear me well, if you can say anything in the chat while I prepare myself, drink some water. And maybe I had this question on my mind few minutes ago that I'm gonna put on the poll for the next 10, 20 minutes, perhaps, is how many of you guys use source control, like perforce or diversion? So give me a second. So I'm typing this and let's start the poll because it would be very helpful if you want some tutorial on diversion, on how we can work collaboratively with other artists, share our files. This is, I think for me, it killed Perforce. Like Perforce is great and all, but it's just too complicated for any artist who's getting started fast. And I've been testing this for the past few weeks and it's amazing. So I'd love to know about you guys. Beautiful visual 3D, Hauk, Moaz, Asma, Larry. Hello guys. Good morning to you. And here it's evening to me, but still good evening to anyone who have the evening. Actually, where are you guys watching from? So we're waiting a few minutes and we will get started with the 3D modeling stuff. Today's stream is something really cool. The 3D modeling tools have been always improving and there is so much we can do with them. And I prepared this presentation. Maybe you've seen on YouTube, like I've been always preparing presentations because I love presentations and I love Canva. So yeah, it's a great tool. The majority does not use Perforce or version control. That's good to know. And I really have some good news to you guys because what we are about to cover in the upcoming stream or video about source control and how we can easily collaborate with other people on the same project without creating conflicts or with creating some file conflicts, but we can resolve them. It will change how you work and collaborate with people, how you deliver your projects, and allow you to take on bigger and bigger projects. Because when it comes to bigger projects in Unreal, source control is a requirement. So I'd love to discuss it in the future. John, hello, hello. Hauk from Taibi, California, Sergi, Texas, Build 3D, Egypt. So good morning to you, Sergi, Build Visual. And for Asma, good evening. For Hauk, good evening as well, I believe. Thank you for being here, guys. I'm very glad to be here after a long time. I think the last stream have been like 2 months ago, but we've been, give you like quick recap, very busy with projects. We like now near the end of the year, we finalized everything we need to finalize and very happy to spend my time where I love spending it with you, live and through production of videos, the tutorials. So I hope you've been enjoying the past tutorials we've been making. I have one on tips on cinematics coming this week. So you definitely want to stay tuned. Also, you may see in general, like, I just want to bring this in real quick. I will get very soon in the topic, but I just want to say to you guys that on the Academy, right now, if you want to see the lessons, like the YouTube lessons for early access, we have our VRD membership for lessons. Every single lesson you see on YouTube, I think it's like 1 week, 2 weeks. Some of them, like, I don't even put them on YouTube because they're too short and I'm still working on the quality of the video or adding more information. So if you want to view the videos, to give feedback. I also have some different type of videos that I'm working on, informative type of videos, like what makes Unreal Engine a good tool to learn, or what are digital twins. So these are experimental. I want to upload them here soon. So your feedback would be amazing on how we can like make these everything we're doing better at all. And you may also notice we have a future live chat. If you have any feedback, any question in Unreal Engine, you can come to the Academy and chat with the team. Also, we are the day after tomorrow. It's officially the first day of our new Unreal Engine course. This one is mainly focused on producing interactive projects in Unreal Engine. You may have seen some videos or the presentations. So it's 4-month training program. Right now we have super special offer that you will see in the fine print, but we need to put it on the Academy. But you will see on the fine print if you read this presentation. So this is what your first week as a student looks like. That special offer is somewhere in the here, is that if you enroll as a student, not here, let me open the landing page for it. If you enroll as a student in this, you can also invite a buddy. So it's 2 for 1, because I want to encourage all my students at the Academy not to study on their own, to invite their colleague, their friend, anyone. When you get this, the training for Unreal Engine, I don't want to talk too much about it because there are some videos on the channel and details all here, and you can chat with the team. But I just wanted to highlight that this price is for 2 for 1, and you must bring a buddy with you. If you don't have a buddy, we can connect you. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight this because I want people to collaborate. All these presentations, or at least this one, are on the Academy. It's about everything in detail. What's in month 1, month 2, month 3, what to expect, how the training is happening, weekly videos, weekly sessions on our community, and so on. So I just wanted to highlight this because Academy, I've been like working so hard in this year on all the visuals, all the content of every lesson, and the same can be expected if you go to the Academy. This is like, if you at least sign for the newsletter or for the VRD membership, you will be notified on all these live streams, the ones on YouTube and the ones that are exclusively free on the Academy. Now, with all that being said, today we will take a deeper look into the 3D modeling tools in Unreal, who can learn them, why we should learn them, how are they useful in multiple scenarios. We're gonna explore that. And the 2 little scenarios we want to explore with the modeling tools once we learn about them is a little bit in architecture and a little bit in motion graphics. So that's a quick introduction. Before we continue, I want to take a quick look at the chat and see if there are any questions, and we can get started with our live stream today. So give me a second to find my browser. There is a browser I discovered recently. It's called Arc browser. I highly recommend this one. It's really cool. I kind of switched from Edge, from Chrome, from all the still Chromium stuff. It's like Chrome is in the background, but it's really cool in terms of user experience. Anyway, going to topic. Where is the chat? I found the chat. Wendell, Abu Dhabi, MBK, hello, buddy. Okay, let's get started. No autosave. Let's take the risk. So the question you might ask, why should we learn the 3D modeling tools in Unreal Engine if we're using Blender or 3ds Max or Cinema 4D or any of our tools? And the answer can be multiple answers, but the first one is if you are someone who use a 3D program like 3D Max or Blender, you will be spending less time switching between applications. Therefore, there are some operations that you can do directly inside Unreal Engine without the need to export your mesh back and forth between Unreal Engine and your tool of choice. And you would be surprised how many things you can do. Now, I'm gonna say it directly now. The modeling tools in their current state, they are in beta. And I also say AKA is for early adopters. If you are someone who's little patient and willing to learn and willing, so the other side of people who may want to learn the modeling tools, let's say you're someone who has zero background in 3D, you don't know Blender, you don't know Max, this means for you, there are less tools you're going to learn. So it's just Unreal Engine. And for people who know 3D Max, Blender, or don't know any of them, because we spend less time switching, we spend more time inside the engine, more time creating things, and more time building our, I would say library, because the way the engine is built and the way we have our data, we always have our content browser, and the way we organize it, the way we set our, I will show you a quick folder in one of our new projects. The way you set up your content browser, you can reuse your libraries, okay? So I have multiple examples today we're gonna talk about. Let me go back to my slides. And they are definitely going to keep receiving updates. In fact, the modeling tools have received massive updates since the last release, few releases of Unreal 4.2023, 22 to 25. And in Unreal 5, they received the whole editor mode, and they just kept improving. And I thought it would be a good idea to make a video about them, because there have been some differences between like the last videos I've made in the past and now. And yeah, I hope, let's see how they will change in 5.5. I need to download the preview version to just be always ready. But yes, they are getting massive amounts of updates, and in Unreal Engine in general, scripting and making your own tools and building on top of the scripting tools is becoming easier, especially with things like the scripting, modeling scripting, I forgot its name, like scripting, yeah, 3D modeling scripting tools and the PCG. And I made a video a couple of months ago about like a devlog, how I'm using the scripting tools and this one. Where is, wow, the boys updated the thumbnail where we were live. Thank you. Is this? Yeah. Thank you, boys. Jafar, Moaz, cheers. Where is that? Yeah, we need to update the thumbnail of this one. But this video here, I talk about the geometry script and PCG and how they're like really cool to help you prototype your levels and projects inside the Unreal. And my idea of this devlog is I'm building a little city, like gamified city, with the modular tools. And, I don't know what this means. I had a joke I wanted to say here, I forgot it, but that's okay. I think because this guy, less, more, next, Yeah, that's how it sounds. So, to recap, if you are a filmmaker, a writer, a 3D artist, a chef, anyone, if you're anyone, and you want to learn Unreal Engine, just Unreal Engine, you can do that. You can create beautiful scenes, and you can perform basic operations and more to create and modify the meshes you download from Sketchfab or the marketplace, or even create your own stylized cool meshes. I didn't make these, but these are very easy to make. I did some tests, but if we're talking like if you're someone in motion graphics, then yes, I can keep giving more and more reasons. And yeah, so less programs to learn for Unreal users, less time wasted switching between for small operations. This is me recapping. More time spent in one program, more people learning one program. Let's go. Next, 3D modeling is just one editor mode, one of many. Unreal Engine is a big tool. And it has many modes. This is just like the tip of the iceberg. We have the texture graph, we have the Unreal Motion Graphics mode for the user interfaces and animations. It's being replaced now with the Avalanche project, which is not Avalanche, they changed the name. So there is a lot. The motion design mode, this is the new one, still though. PCG, procedural content generation, blueprint, motion graphics, control rig, sequencer, metahumans, and the list goes on and on and on. And there is a lot. So if you want to stay up to date, there will be many of these live streams, some here, some on our academy, some exclusively for our students, some for everyone. Go to VR Division Academy and sign for the newsletter. Now, let's read the questions and take a look at the chat if there is anything. Just so you know, guys, it would be very easy. Like, if you have any question, just put it between brackets. I think I put that somewhere, but that's fine. It will be easier for me to read. And the way we're gonna do this today, I will do my thing, never shut up, talk, share the knowledge. Every 10, 15 minutes, take a look at the chat, see if there is questions, see if we can answer them, or document them for the next streams or videos, and we can keep going. If you like the idea of this, I would really appreciate it if you leave a like on this stream, so that would let us know you're enjoying this stuff, and would also let Google, YouTube know, so it can push it to more people. And that's really the best way to support us, is just to leave a like, a comment, reply to another comment. Engagement is called. Can I drink some water as well while we take a look at the chat? Wendell, yes, I remember you, buddy. My man, I'm very excited. Muaz will send you an email sooner or later. We have some questions for you to get to know you. And the same goes for all our new students. It's a pleasure to have all of you. And I'm very excited. Look forward for Thursday. We're gonna get started. Larry, my man. Easy to use measuring tools would be complete game changer. Absolutely, right? I've been looking for inspiration as I'm building, you know, an MVP and also the course. Measuring tools is on the to-do list. Let me see if I took a screenshot of it and if there is any. Is things good here? Just put Figma on the side. Yeah, okay. Somewhere I was trying to mock up, like I have the idea, if you click on an object, we want to see like line. It's not my idea, I just saw it online, but I'd love to see big numbers in 3D space or 2D space where I can click on an asset and see it like in 3D space. Is that what you mean, Larry? So this is some work in progress. I've been learning some Figma, guys. And this is the... Let me announce this real quick. I don't know how I completely forgot this. Cesium, we are working on really amazing tutorial together. It's also on the website, on the academy. If you are, there is the Unreal project that we will release also in November. It has some of these features. So I'm working and I'm looking on your questions on Archviz Explorer, by the way. If anyone have any question about Archviz Explorer, you can leave them on the video itself, because yesterday I was taking a look at every single question and just taking notes, because it's still kind of challenging. So we want to make it easier and we want to build and continue. Larry, yes. I mean, when you're creating stuff in Unreal Engine, being able... Yeah, I think with the construction script, something like that is possible, like not inside the experience, but it would be so cool if to select an object or a mesh, and just like we see in Blender, where we have all the lines around it and see dimensions, to see the same here. That's definitely a game changer. It's a good idea too. How to change the default time? How? Let me see. I remember this question. So this is another live stream or video I'm planning where I take screenshot of all your questions. Yeah, here you go. Yeah. This is for the next live stream, Hawk. We're gonna talk about, we're gonna open this and talk 100% about it. So today we're gonna cover only the 3D modeling tools, but for the next live stream, I have this prepared for it. And just for in today's case, I have today's live questions, so we can take screenshot or copy what questions you guys have, so we can cover them next. So as you can see, I've prepared this for the second question for you, and I got you soon. All right. My pleasure, my man. Any other questions? Put them, and I'm looking forward for the next stream to seeing you, and we go through Archviz Explorer, demystify everything. Okay, let's get started, and I will take a look again at the chat soon, so I put it away a little bit so we can focus on what we're doing. And today's topic, we're gonna enable the tools, explore the concept of polygroups, since in game engines we don't have quads, we have triangles. So polygroups is, you know, they're not replacement, but a way to work with objects. We're gonna take then a look at all the other tools and things we can do. So yeah, let's get started. To enable the tools, usually they are enabled in most projects you start if you're choosing a template, but if you start from a blank template, you want to go to the plugins. So you go to Edit, Plugins, and here we can search for the modeling. Just type modeling, modeling tools editor mode, 0.1 in beta. Enable this, restart the engine, and we should be able to find it under the modes. So when you click here, you have a list of all the different modes of the engine. This might be different from your end because, for example, I also have another mode called motion design. And this is really cool. So the new mode we just enabled called modeling, and the shortcut for it is always Shift 5. If you disabled one of these modes, it might be Shift 4, but 99% of the scenarios is Shift 5. So if we click here, we will have a new panel with buttons on the left and buttons and actions in the big panel here. What we can do with the modeling and mesh editing tools is the basic operations, anything you would expect. So let's go to the modeling room, shall we? Let's get faster. Okay, look at this. This is our space for modeling and having fun. So we have the ability to create meshes, and we have the ability to modify some properties of these meshes, like their pivot and create a pattern. So these could be organized better, but they are kind of grouped in a cool way. So if you hover your mouse, you're gonna see create new shapes, transforms, and conversation, like transforming the mesh around, I would say here, and or translation is like the pivot of the mesh. Duplicate, foreshadowing, this is a very important button that you will use a lot when you want to modify your meshes, but you don't want to affect all instances. We're gonna talk about this, but yeah, Xform, duplicate, this is where you find it, and trust me, you will use this a lot. We have the ability to deform the meshes and to edit their triangles or vertices with these two, sculpting, baking their textures, and render to textures, basically. Edit the UVs. We even have a UV editor and some attributes. And from here, we can create the poly groups that I mentioned earlier. We're going to take a look at them in a moment. And miscellaneous that not really important for us today. Let's start with the basics. When you start an Unreal project, and if you go to create, take a look at the shapes we have. We have the basic shapes like box, sphere, cylinder. So we can quickly create these. Click on anyone and click somewhere on your screen and right click to move around. So click accept. And if you want to create a sphere, the same process. And there is also once you click somewhere, this is one of the new additions in 5.4, where you can offset or just simply move the transform. So because maybe you want this on the 0, 0, 0. It's just that simple. So in the center of your word, or maybe here on the x-axis, we want it like 100 units or little more, so it can be inside the room. That's too much. And notice how I'm like quickly navigating around. When you use the modeling tools, you kind of need this way. You know, I saw the meme a few years ago in an artist doing a 3D model, 10% of the job actually doing the 3D model, and 90% is orbiting around the 3D model and just panning the view. So the way I'm doing this is F to focus my currently selected mesh, and then Alt left mouse button to orbit around my mesh, and right mouse button to dolly zoom in and out. And a combination of these together, like as you can see, I can click F. Now this is currently selected, I cannot focus it, but it's very useful, this combination of buttons. It's like if you, yeah. As you've noticed, every time we click on an asset or an object, we have the settings that are related for that object. So for a box, we have the width, depth, height, the subdivisions, and the polygroup mode. Let's talk about the polygroup mode, but let's use something like an arrow. And let's make the shaft radius something like 50. Wow. And let's make the height like 400. And if you want for this just to stick in one place, click anywhere and it will stay. So now you can modify the way you prefer. So we have the subdivisions, the slices for a mesh. And now we kind of have a low poly tree, kind of. And you can paint this later. So why go to another program, make a low poly tree if you can do it here very fast? And of course you can do more, but that's one way. Now, we've made that. Let's make another. Here's another arrow. And as for the polygroup mode, let's switch it. We have 3 different modes. We have per face, per quad, and per shape. We had per face. Let's use per shape to compare between both. And let's go to mesh. And, sorry, let's go to model, shape modeling. This mode, we have polygroup edit, we have subdivide, boolean, mirror, some good stuff. We're going to talk about it as we go. So this is the first mesh we've created where we had per face. And if we go to polygroup edit and you click, you would think like maybe this is because of they are connected here or the smoothing groups, but you would expect for this to be at least like you can select this face alone or this face alone, but that's not the case. Well, it is kind of okay. So if you can select this, you can move it around, that's fine. You can do some of these operations. So now it's kind of hard to extrude just one face because everything is selected. So it's extruding everything. Still, maybe that's what you want. Maybe these are scenarios you want this. If you go to polygroup edit on the second mesh we've created where we had the during creation, sorry, switch, by the way, you can quickly switch between selection mode, the default mode by pressing Shift 1. So when you're modeling something, just do this, boom, and yeah, we use them a lot. Shift 5, Shift 1 are your new best friends. So when we're creating the arrow, the tree, polygroup mode per shape, this one is per shape, and let's make a new one and say per quad, okay? And let's create it on tab here, why not? Accept. Let's go back to model, polygroup edit, and look at these red lines. These are polygroups. The red lines around a collection of triangles. That's a polygroup. Now, let's delete that mesh. We got it. You might wonder, I have this mesh. How do I turn it into polygroups? Or how do I turn some of these into polygroups? That's where attributes, the last button, if you want to remember it, say MISC, we never use this, attributes, and from here, you can see generate polygroups, paint polygroups, and these are good enough. So generate polygroups, you can see the different colors, and that's important because if I want to modify just this face alone, I need a polygroup for it. So the default setting usually works, and the conversion mode, you have multiple types. So you can only quads from UV islands if it has a UV islands, if it's baked, for example, or it's unwrapped, sorry. From hard normal seams. So this is, I think this is because there is no hard normals between these edges. It does not create a polygroup like when it creates for the face normal deviation, which is this one. So click accept, go to create model, polygroup edit, select any face, and now you can edit just one face. You can do insert, you can do extrude. Now that's a sci-fi 3. Hell yeah. And from there, you can keep doing what you're doing. So let's drink some water. Let's take a look at the chat real quick if there is any questions on polygroups and if there is any other questions. Hani, is it good to render towers in Unreal 5? I would say why it's not good. But when it comes to Unreal, if you are just looking for a render, why not use Twinmotion or any tool you use? If you want to create a project for Unreal Engine 5 and you're talking about towers, that's a big project and can take you so long. So if you're creating that project for a reason, to build up your portfolio, to prove skills, that, hey, I can take on big projects in Unreal Engine and you should hire me, here's the proof, here's the project, then yeah. And something really important when it comes to visualizing architecture, this skill is great, but it's not enough. And I don't want to talk too much about AI and stuff. However, I want to say like the simplest solution when we see stuff like this is what else can I add on top of my knowledge with what I know. So if there is a tool like Unreal Engine that allows me to easily create beautiful, beautiful visualizations, and it has a system like Unreal, the blueprints for visual scripting, where you can create an interactive experience, that's not an architectural visualization anymore. That's an interactive experience and beyond. And it's totally different. It gets you totally different clients and opportunities and so on, compared to just simply creating renders or videos, and that's it. So yes, that's my answer, but after I explained a little bit why maybe you should consider creating towers in Unreal. And mix them with Cesium. With Cesium, you can select a real-world location. If you're like doing urban study or plan study, or you just want something like based on the real world, it would be amazing. Mixing your knowledge as an Archviz artist, Cesium, Archviz Explorer, or something similar to that. So Blueprint is definitely the way. And this is for you, Hani, and for everyone. I don't know if you joined now. On our academy right now, we have a program where we are teaching Blueprint for the next 4 months. And any questions you have, you are more than welcome to join us or ask us on the academy. And the whole goal is to create an interactive experience with Unreal Engine and learn blueprint in Unreal Engine to create that experience. And this is 4-month course, so anything you can think of in terms of the features you would see in an architectural project, like a mini map, interchanging colors, going from floor 16 to floor 17 to floor 15, whatever, like you would see in an architectural visualization, like we will touch on all of this. So these are the skills I would learn as an Artspace artist, is learning how to create interactive experiences. So here I'm doing my homework, visiting websites, seeing how furniture companies allow me to order my sofa, for example, and how I take all this experience and take like this sofa as an example and create a customizer for it. So here I've created, for example, the brand, the designer, the name of the sofa, the layout configuration, and so on. So these things, if you can add on top of your design, whether it's a sofa or something about the tower. That's the beauty of real-time experiences. So select a case study in your mind, who's going to see your project, who's going to see the towers, and build a user interface based on that, and add the towers on top of it, and then you have something amazing, that's for sure. I will put a link to our academy in the chat, so for anyone who's interested in by the way, if you're not interested in buying the course, that's why I also want to put a link, because we have a partnership with Cesium to create a free course that is also coming on November. And there is a lot of what we are teaching in this course is also in the other course. One is free, one is currently now paid. The main difference between this one and the one is coming on November is like there is 10 times the amount of content, because that's what it takes to create these experiences. I wonder where is the page for Cesium. Muaz, if you're watching my man, can we, with Mubarak, add the Cesium landing page as well? I think it's in the page here. Okay. Let's go back to the topic or the questions so we can continue learning 3D modeling. Freezy, hello. How to animate a blueprint in movie sequencer. Example, I have a door that opens on player entering collision box and I want to show. So I definitely have a plan to do a live stream, and this is the first question on blueprint. And I will take your question, Freezy, and do it in the right live stream. So for the next live stream, we have all these questions. We have a question on how to change the default time for Archviz Explorer and many others. And your question, Freezy, I'll take a screenshot, give me a second. Anyone has a question that we cannot answer today, guys, you can send it in the chat, and that's how I'll do my best to keep track of the questions we ask and how we cover them. The link, yes, I forgot the link, sorry. I got you, man, Freezy. Now, I would wish really to answer your question now, but because I don't want to deviate a lot from the topic of 3D modeling, so we can have a dedicated live stream for blueprint. We also have a dedicated live stream soon just for lighting. So I want you guys to stay tuned, and any questions you have, this is why we do them. In the live stream, we can have a discussion and we can keep learning and doing things together. So the answer, I just remembered we were running a poll on if you use version control like Perforce or Diversion or not. If 70% of you guys is no, then we definitely need to cover this, because Diversion is one of the best tools you can learn to collaborate with other artists. And this is not sponsored, by the way, in any way. I just love the tool and it just made my life so much easy. And I want to reach out to them and ask them, hey, you You want to collaborate. And yeah. So thank you for the answer, guys. Honey, we got our own social media network and we have our own live room where we have our online events. However, yes, we have a Discord. It's for the community, but it's public. We have our own private community for the Blueprint course. Okay, let's go back to the lesson from here. And in the next 10 minutes, I will continue reading the chat. I hope I didn't miss any question. Wait, actually, I missed a question. So when I include Cesium plugin, I try to package the program and it's always showing error no matter what in Unreal Engine 5.4. Interesting, Hawk. I will see. We'll take a look and we will see how we can debug this. But I promise you, this should be solved in the final course. If we go to create, if we take a look at some other less basic meshes like the stairs, this is a very good mesh, especially if you're blocking out a level or a building where you need stairs, so you can set the number of steps, width, height, and so on. There is something related for the positioning. This is also on the same, every single object when you click on it. I will not click on everything, by the way. I will leave that for you to explore. I will just highlight the important stuff. So if you click on the cone, you can see it has its own different settings, and they all share positioning and they all share material. So if you don't want for your object to have this material, you can, from all objects moving forward to have a specific material, you can assign it from here. You can change the UVs, and it's just faster in terms of production, especially if you have like triplanar materials. In terms of positioning, I kind of never use this, but you have the, like to position this exactly in the center of the world if you're working on just modeling a specific mesh. So sometimes when I want to use Unreal Engine for modeling, I simply create an empty level and I work there. And I don't know if you've seen a video where I follow Punisher and create like funny challenges in 5 minutes, 10 minutes on YouTube. So that's where the positioning at the origin comes in handy. Ground plane is no matter what, where you place this, it should be technically on the ground plane, but it just didn't work, so interesting. Yeah, now it works. So ground plane, no matter where you move your screen, but here there is some interesting collision for some reason, or actually when you place it, yeah, that's very crazy. Yeah, there is some weird collision here or something, but usually this should also only work on ground. So the main difference, if I'm moving next to the wall, it just stays on the floor. If we switch it to on scene, sorry, it just follows the mouse and the normals of a surface, like so. So if we increase the subdivision of this and we change it to per face, add one, and let's create the exact same box, but instead of per face, the polygroup mode, switch it to per quad. Just one final reminder about the polygroups mode so we can move forward. And if we go back to model polygroup edit here, we can see we have the ability to modify any face. But here, even though they have the same topology, they don't have the same polygroups. So this one is just one face. You want to create polygroups for this in more. So we go back to attributes and we can generate polygroups and we can see, do we need the quads? Do we need UV islands and connected triangles and so on. Painting polygroups. It's literally just painting and that's it. Thank you for sharing the Discord, Moaz. One interesting mode is the cube grid. But before we get here, there is an option you may want to ignore. It's out of the scope of the basics. It's the output mode. We have the static mesh, volume, and dynamic mesh. Volume, I believe you may not use this unless you're creating specific volume that you want the exact. So that's where it's useful. However, for static mesh and dynamic mesh, static mesh, when you create one and you press on that mesh and press Ctrl B, you're gonna see it here in your content browser. So here, under levels, modeling, generated, Yahya, you can see all the meshes I've generated or modified in the past. Now, if we create any mesh, but set it to dynamic mesh is mesh that is made by code. And if you try to press Ctrl B, this mesh does not exist here. It just exists only here as a code in the engine. And that's like the high level overview, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, that's the start. The way it's made, the way it's like produced, the type of operations you can do. So you cannot go so far with these. So just use always the static meshes. I guess if you're using the geometry script, you already know about dynamic meshes, so no need to discuss this. So under create, we spoke about the basic shapes and their different settings. We also have other few modes. We have a mode where we have a grid in the space, cube grid, just like Minecraft or something. And if you click, you can see like the dimensions. And if you hold and drag the mouse, you can modify the selection. So if I release now, I have 200 by 200 by 200 of this selection, and I can press on one of these buttons, pull or push or slide back. So if I press on push, it will go down. If I press on pull, it will move up, what I have here. And I can just keep moving this up. Now, if I want to move this part to the left, for example, I can simply, again, press on push. Sorry, pull. Keep making confused between them. And now, if you want to close it, like this is really quick, you know, can do that. Can also, oops, I did this, but that's okay. That's maybe part of it. Why not? So you can click, drag again, and pull it. Click here, maybe you want some little corner, so push. Maybe this is too small, so click here, pull a little bit. This one is too much, select it from this part and this part, let's say, then push. Click accept when you're done, and you have a dynamic mesh as well that you cannot find in the content browser, but you can turn into static mesh, and we will discuss this in future as well as we go. So this is a mode, and it's very cool. I recommend reading these, exploring what's possible, flipping things, flip the corner and see what happens. Extrude polygon, extrude path, and revolve path. This is new. Draw spline, which is I adore. Click and draw spline. We finally have this, and it can be used for many purposes. For extrude polygon, you have this point in the space when you want to create an object. And the way I'm moving around, I right click, look around, A, S, D, W, Q, and E to fly around in my play field. So click somewhere and you can move the snap around, the object around to any point. And we can observe the behavior of the line. So if these 2 points intersect, it will simply close. And now we can move it up and down if we need to. And if I want to snap the exact same height, I simply move my mouse on this surface. If I want for the height of this mesh we just created to be the same as this part, just snap it here and it will snap by itself. You can also force snapping if you hold Control, but that's in some other scenarios. So here, by the way, I just simply hover my mouse here, right click, and I move to see the snap. So if you move without right clicking, which is not possible, you will not see the snap. So we are on the same page. So just like that, we can snap it to here. So we know now any object we created, it's the exact height we want it to be, which is very cool. If we go back to extrude polygon, we have few more options, and let's switch this to static mesh. So we have freehand, circle, square, rectangle, rounded rectangle, and ring. Let's take a look at rounded rectangle. It's the same as rectangle, but it's rounded. So it will ask you to create a line. Once you create a line, you need to define the distance. And then once you click, you need to define the height. Just like 3ds Max in a way. Click, drag, release, click again, that kind of stuff. It's very easy to create. So if I want to create any mesh again, extrude, do this, do it again. So click extrude polygon, click, here I want line here. And it will take a second to create, but that's fine. And yeah, spend 10 minutes and you have like simple context block out city with these simple meshes. So the fact that you can import your project from your tool of choice and then fly in Unreal Engine and model around your project with such basic tools, it's perfect. I forgot to mention, you can at any time merge these tools, their exact position or whatever, with the other tools we have here, and then you can simply select any object you want and you can export it and open it in Blender or Max on any program you use. All right, I'm taking a quick look at the chat. I think I'm out of water, so it's okay, we'll go get water soon. Last bit. We also have others like the circle. It's also very cool. The circle, you can set the radial slides, but I believe you need to create them or set them before you create your object. Not to be confused with box or the simple geometries. And just to quick change of the scene. This is a project here I did last year. I started everything with the modeling tools first in Unreal. I subtracted meshes from each other and I just wanted to get the basic feel. I don't have the old mesh anymore. But I started in Unreal Engine, my block out. I placed my lights, I did everything. In another stream, we can talk about the making of this environment. And I sent my mesh to Blender, first to Max actually, then I sent it to Blender to learn Blender, edit my stuff, my destructive elements, let's say, like this kind of things, export it back to Unreal, and yeah. So this is an example of an environment you can build 100% inside Unreal Engine if you want to. It's really not that complicated. And now in Unreal Engine, I've seen recently someone is doing like some damage. It was so cool. I need to take a look at it more. Download an asset from the Quixel Marketplace, the mega scans for textures and materials and some lights, and that's it. You can go away with so much with just the tools that are available inside Unreal Engine. And the texture graph is a whole another story. So there are some settings about snapping. these are all like things you need to really feel for yourself and control. I don't want to bore you to death, guys, but it's pretty obvious. Snap to vertices, yes or no? If then yes, you can actually snap to vertices. So if I want to be more accurate with my drawing, I can start from here with my circle, and then here, and that's a circle. If I want to draw another one of these rounded rectangles, click on this edge, click on this, on this vertex, and then move, and then if you want the exact same height, you can do that. So that's pretty good. If you want to create one here, let's see, we have snap to edges as well. You have now any edge. If I want from this edge, click. Oops, I missed. Oh shit. So Control Z. Very good, very good. You need to be careful. If you don't click complete, and it gets worse if you are inside model, polygroup edit, and then let's say inside one of these tools, maybe one of them, like insert. Sometimes you get to one of these tools and like you modify, and then you click escape by mistake or something, and all your progress is kind of gone. So just be careful there. So going back to do the exact same thing, deform, no, create, yes, extrude polygon, this face to this face, and move, and there we go. As you can see, it's like so cool to create. In another stream, I'd love to do a floor plan test. We could import floor plan, and we can test the tools and see how it goes. It will go good, trust me. Extrude path is what it says. You select the path, and once you're done, click on the last vertex you've created in the space again, like so. So it will turn from orange to yellow. Anytime you notice stuff like this, it means okay, click, something will happen. Now, move your mouse left and right or up and down to like away from the center to increase or decrease the width of the path. Once you're happy with the width, you can again click, and I'm holding my right mouse button and moving around so I can show you. And if you move your mouse, it will scroll extrude. And if you don't want to do all of that, you can also, same goes for extrude polygon, by the way, by predefining these settings if you want to play with them from here more, the extrude mode, interactive, or is it fixed, 100 units only? You can do that. Let me show you. Extrude path, interactive, nah, bruh, fixed. Give me 150 units for my road because I've been told we need 150 units only. I cannot eyeball it. So you can do that. That's cool. We can enter values. Rounded corners, yeah, why not? Give me 8 edges and single poly group. Like, do we care? No. So click now, click, and I wanted to show something. So, oops. Press Ctrl Z to undo, okay? And that's it. So there is a way to create a curved. I'm trying to find a way to remember the curved, but we will see. So now, actually wait, the curved is here, is what we said here from the rounded corners. So if we increase this, now click accept, we can change the roundness, or the, like, not the roundness, the distance of the corner. So I'm gonna do it again. Extrude path. Let's keep it all interactive, but this is the new setting we want to enable, rounded corners. So do this. Let's make this like so. And once we're happy, click, and we can define how round they should be. Once you're happy, you can do that again, as you can see. So if you move it to the closest point, they will be as like sharp, and if you move further away, they will be further, like this. And now you have this, which is very cool. So if you want to modify this in any way, you can go to poly edit group, select an edge, move it like so, or select many and move them. We will discuss this in a bit, but yeah. So let's go back to create. There is one more thing, which is the way the height used to be. Like it used, where it was. Yeah, the extrude. There we go. We have ramp, fixed, and interactive. Here's even more. All these settings are just in the path extrude tool. So let's find a one. Let's create this. Select, do whatever you want. And if you want something that goes from specific like 0.05, if this was a ratio, or you can specify it exactly, the fixed when you set that, this path starts from like as close as possible, and then it goes up and up and up, and yeah. It's you and your creativity. So let's clean up a little bit. Let's delete these. Oh, not our environment. Let's keep one or make them small. And let's talk about something important. So here's I have a mesh, and I'm gonna make a copy of that mesh, and we don't want this, and another copy. So this is just a simple hold Alt and move your mesh. Now notice if you go to mesh, triangle select, so this is another way to edit your meshes, and you click on, what do? We can create a poly group from here, by the way. Yeah, let's just delete. Click accept. It got deleted everywhere on every single instance. And if you press Ctrl Z, in most cases it should be fine, but I feel unlucky. Please don't crash. Thank you. Yeah, I feel unlucky, but it didn't crash. Good stuff. What you want to do is to duplicate the mesh, and not by going like here and here, press Ctrl D and bring it back again. I used to do that. No, there is a simpler way. Go to X form and press on duplicate. Just simply click on accept. And now, if you decide to edit this mesh specifically, or these guys, one of them will stay the same. So if you click on mesh, triangle edit, actually let's go to poly edit like this, and just simply, this will be easier to move. This one chained, this one chained, this one chained, but this one stayed the same. It stayed unique. So the final one we're going to talk about is revolve path, and then we can move to the other tools. Revolve path, it will by default revolve a path in the 0, 0, 0 of our world, but let's say we are working in this area and we don't want to go to the 0, 0, 0 of our world. You can hold Ctrl and click, and it will bring this pivot that you can see when I move my mouse a little close. We see this yellow endless line that goes up, and it also goes down following this trajectory. So if I go like this and I move my mouse here, it follows, and it will also snap. So I can click, 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 do whatever I want, snap it here again, do, and that's a massive blade. I don't know what it is. Sayah, Muaz. We can be more creative. So revolve path again, if you want to work on smaller area. And be careful, or just pay attention to the snapping, because snapping, when it's enabled here, it's enabled everywhere on most cases. Actually, it's not here, but we're gonna talk about this. So we have options on snapping: enable snapping, disable it, and now we don't snap at all. If you enable it, it will snap as much as possible. to what we have. It's not perfect, but it works. So this is the profile of this tube, for example, and it will orbit or rotate around itself to create this object. And if you're not happy, we can go to, let's go to model. Let's talk about model before we talk about these guys. So let's talk about the polygroup edit. So if we click here, and this is again, how we have the polygroups is 100% related to how we created our mesh. So let's finally do one final here. The, not spline, the revolve path in terms of polygroups. We can kind of change it. So I'm gonna do a very similar profile, but this time instead of per face, I keep it per revolve step. And let's do the same shape, give and take. And now if we go to model, polygroup edit, this is totally different from what we saw earlier. So now we have a whole step. So you can have like option where you have the loop. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And based on that, you can do, for example, because we have this type of selection, it's easier for us to manipulate our mesh than if I want to insert this, for example, let's just simple insert, if that's even possible without missing the mesh. Oh wait, it is possible, but you need to be careful from your mouse position. If you click in the wrong location, it will look like this. So move your mouse around and see how the mesh is being triangulated. So I wanted to insert like this. And now if we do an extrusion to see just what happens. So click. I don't like it. Let's extrude again. Fixed. We can set it exactly how much. So I'm gonna, let's say 10. The direction mode now is set to single direction. We can set it to the direction of the normals. And now you can see it's way much nicer. So if this is set to 10, we can set it to -3. And it's, yeah. So, I mean, just imagine if you spend time and if you are someone, this is again, this video is mainly for people who don't use Blender or 3D Max or others. You can do a lot in Unreal. And the very good thing about learning these tools in Unreal, they are, I believe, almost the exact same as the tools in the UEFN editor. So that's like learning two programs in one. Well, technically the same program, but they are useful here in Unreal Engine and they are useful in Unreal Engine for Fortnite. All right. So this one, there is a bug. Sometimes when you switch between modes and click, you will see the camera moving back like crazy. This is not me moving the camera, by the way. I'm just clicking on my left mouse button and the camera is moving by itself. I don't know why this happened, but usually I switch between Shift 1, Shift 5. Delete the meshes. That's doing this. I don't know what's like really what's up, but it just goes sometimes. So if this happens, try with it multiple times and you should be fine. So let's select that mesh again. And now if you take a quick look at the polygroup mode, it's different from what we had here. And you can modify the polygroups. That's a little more advanced, but that's totally doable. Give me a second to get my coffee. It's on the other table. So in terms of operations we can do on our mesh, when we select any mesh we want to edit and we go to polygroup edit, we have these three main categories. We have face edits, shape edits, and edge edits. And then we have UVs and selection actions and whatnot. We also have selection filter. If you don't want to select, let's say, the faces, you just want to select the vertices, well, in this case, you simply move around them like this, and you can do that. But let's say you want to select the edges. So you can simply do this, and do this, and now it selects the edges for you here. Much easier. صحة Muaz, thank you. Who's drinking coffee too or water? Okay. Face edits, we have extrude, offset, push, inset, outset, bevel, delete faces. Let's try some of them. We already tried extrude. So let's poly edit, extrude, or select a face. But you may notice it's not selecting a face. It's because we have a selection filter. So enable this again and now select a face. And now you can extrude the face if you want. You can set a value. Let's say we want 200 units. That's 200 centimeters or 2 meters or 200 units. I'm just drinking some coffee again. Now, we spoke about the direction mode. It was useful to see it on an object like a cylinder, the direction mode. And the selected triangle, this is another mode, but that's what it is. We have options that are global across all meshes. Sometimes you have like, hey, show me the wireframes. So we can do that. And once you're happy with the extrude, you can accept action. And you can see polygroup edit, extrude, accept, or cancel. Let's say accept. If you want to offset this face, you can simply move from here, up and down, the gizmo, or rotate, or even scale. Look at these, 1, 2, 3. So if you click on one and drag, it will scale it on the y-axis for this guy. And if you click on the X and drag, what? It's not. Is it working? Can you work? It's not. Well, I think it's already. So we need here. Let's reset first of all, and let's do it again. Maybe because some extreme value is not working. Yeah, it just does not click another face. Okay, there we go. So you can collapse all points into one point if you want, because why not? And of course you can wield the points so you don't have multiple vertices on top of each other. And we can find these operations, I think here, mesh, we have wield, jacket, remesh, inspect, simplify, some very good stuff. I feel the most boring part is just the create menu, and it's really useful still, but then all the good stuff are here. So if we press Ctrl Z, because we're still editing our mesh, and notice when I press Ctrl Z, so Ctrl Y again to redo what I did, if it's worked, no, it didn't work, it removed another step, and that sometimes can happen. When you are creating your mesh or editing your mesh, let's say I want to adjust this one, but I really like it. What I highly recommend is making a duplicate, a backup, give it another color or put it somewhere else, and then do your modifications on the mesh. So far, so good, no questions? We can pause a little bit if anyone have any questions. How's every day is going? How is everyone's day going? Moaz, can you post a link to the Discord server here, please? I thought you posted it earlier. Can you do that actually? If you give me, guys, just 2 minutes, I will quickly bring some water, spot quickly some music. When I'm back, we will continue on talking about the tools for like another 30 minutes. And we will talk about the next stream. Let me just set the correct timer, not to scare you with 7 minutes. All right. See you in 3, my guys. Oh, I was talking to myself. Nice. Hello, hello. All right. Moving forward, we're talking about the polygroup edit. We have different operations on the face and I experiment with these to see what they do. Now, fair warning, you will see later like decompose and detach. If you want to detach a mesh completely, it cannot be done from here, from the polygroup edit. It can be done from the mesh edit, the triangle edit or triangle select, where you can select or paint your selection like this and separate. These two are now separate from each other. And if we go back to deform, model, polygroup edit, we can see it retained the polygroups, and we can see what other options we have. So I think they need their own special scenarios, but if we take a look at one of them, like the bevel, it will bevel the edges around your selection. So let's do a very simple box. Here, a cylinder. And you may want to bevel the edges here. So model, polygroup edit, select the face, and click on bevel. And then you can set the distance to how many units you want. Oh, I clicked on mistake, but clicked on escape by mistake. That's something you will need to be aware of if you're working with the modeling tools, by clicking on escape instead of clicking on accept. It's not like our 3D programs, because this is current operation being done on the object. So it happens. Accept our selection. We're still in the polygroup edit. So when we clicked escape earlier, I quit this whole mode. I hope we get some updates in future, like some quality of life updates, where we can prevent some of these errors when you click on button and you lose your progress or your values and you need to select your selection over. It can be frustrating. So I highly recommend learning how to work with polygroups and in the attributes, how to paint them, and based on that you can it will be easier for you to work with your selection sets. It's like, yeah, they're just like exactly selection sets. Germano. Oh, I have timer. So that's the point, Germano. I mentioned at the start of the lesson today, the modeling tools, they are not a replacement for your current workflow, more like they can complement it. Mainly, there are many operations we're gonna touch on later, like in the mesh itself, on simplification, remesh, auto LODs, fixing the UVs, auto projection. They can save you so much time doing certain operations if you learn how to use the tools and just simply, and to be honest, be familiar with all of them, because they are not complicated, especially when it comes to small operations or slightly bigger operations that you need to do or quickly just get away with. You can sometimes create things much faster in Unreal compared to creating the thing in Blender, then export and then re-export, or editing the object in Unreal or fixing the object in Unreal compared to fixing it in other program and import again. Now, it also really depends. And obviously, if I have something bad with my mesh, I want to fix it in my source of truth file. In that case, let's say in my case, it might be 3D Max. In someone else's case or your case, let's say it's Blender or SketchUp, and then export again. But that's a whole different scenario. Sometimes you just want a quick fix, especially in UV mapping or light maps and like other. There are many scenarios really where this saved me so much time switching between applications. With time, I think they are like, so let me give another example. With time, they will replace, and they are replacing some aspects. For example, for me, instead of building the buildings of around the context project in 3D Max, we build the modular pieces we want in Blender or Max or any program, and then we have PCG scripts or whatever where we can generate as much as possible of our data inside Unreal, like procedural city or procedural road. Sometimes you need the modeling tools to fix a pivot, to copy some attributes, and so on. So that's the reason of learning the tools, and that's if you were someone experienced with a 3D program. Now, trust me, these tools are a life changer for someone who doesn't know SketchUp or Blender or 3ds Max and doesn't have the time to learn them. Because trust me, these people exist, and I've met so many, and they come from different backgrounds. They simply just, okay, I need to learn Unreal Engine, no more, or no other, and what I can do inside it. And it goes from here. Like, the modeling tools, every version is like, they will not be worse than what they are. And I'm not saying they're bad, but they only improve and improve and improve from here. And yeah, so that's my stance on the modeling tools and why we should learn them, use them. And there is no third word. I hope this answers your question, Germano. They are really weak. So in my opinion now, when it comes to editing the mesh on sub-object mode, if you want to edit vertices, edit edges, or like create really accurate models on sub-object mode where you Blender and Max and others are superior. That's like, just keep that in mind. So use the tools to create a block out, for example. Or yeah, a block out is a great example. I showed this earlier. Like, I have this environment and many other environments that I started completely in Unreal Engine first with the block outs. And then we send to Blender or Max to improve the meshes and then send them back to Unreal Engine. So the benefit of starting with the block out in Unreal is, like, this is a really simple mesh and gives like good idea. Not much changed actually from the block out. Is you have the lighting, you have the real-time aspect of it, and things can happen in real time. So that's what I see the modeling tools for. I am a person who, if it's easier for me to save me some clicks, I definitely do that. I actually learned, like, I'm learning programming now to develop my own tools and plugins to save me even more clicks. So anything that saves me time, I see it as a good thing, especially switching between applications and so on. Oh yeah, that's on. Everything depends on the UEFN army and people playing Fortnite. The more the modeling tools improve in UEFN, the more they will improve in Unreal Engine. And that's another thing. Thank you for bringing UEFN again, Betson. Germano, if you use Unreal Engine for Fortnite editor to create Fortnite experiences, you can use the exact same tools but on that editor as well, which is a good thing. So one for standalone experiences and one for Unreal Fortnite experiences. Let's talk about my favorite things about modeling tools, perhaps. I'm trying not I'm trying to find my presentation that I did for today. There you go. So we spoke about enabling the stuff, the concept of polygroups. We took a look at the modeling mode to make new meshes. We edited some meshes. Now let's talk about deformations and attributes a little bit to make it less boring. Let's select an interesting mesh. I like this mesh. Xform, duplicate, we discussed this, very important. Edit pivot. This is one of my favorites in the editor. Any mesh that you have, and let's say that mesh, let's quickly like mess up the pivot here. So let's imagine you have a mesh like this, and you click and drag, and you add it, and it's like, bruh, the pivot is in the wrong location. Therefore, every time you add the mesh, it's also in the wrong location, right? So let's say this is the mesh, and it's like, let's say it's floating somewhere or anywhere, it doesn't matter. Edit pivot. Based on the mesh, you can set a position. So imagine imaginary box around the mesh, and you can set the center, the bottom, the top, and so on. So the bottom is our favorite when it comes to any mesh that we want to quickly click and drag in the editor. So just like that, now we fixed the pivot. So that's very important. The pattern is very cool. So if you click on the mesh and click on pattern, you can instance that mesh on 3 types: a line, a grid, and a circle. So a line is a line, as you can see. We can play with the scale, do the end scale, 1 and 2. So big to small, small to big, chairs, translation, if you want to do any offset, not gonna do that. Rotation, 80 or 360. Wait. Yeah. Okay, let's say 340 because why not? So this is for pattern line. You can select the axis X, Y, or Z, and you can play with the settings. It's really fun, actually. And speaking of fun, like, imagine the modeling tools with the motion graphics tools. And if you've seen some of the videos that I put on the channel, I try to use Unreal Engine as much as possible to produce B-rolls, like if it's a cinematic or maybe if it's something informative. For example, I took this screenshot when I released the... It's still available, by the way. If you want to follow along with all the upcoming lessons, lighting, baked lighting, blueprint, download this, because this is the sample project. It's not the final, but I put it so you can download it. This will receive updates. It will actually become a building announcement for everyone. If you are interested in contribution to the course for Cesium, if you make this into a building, or if you're like someone who is making towers, where are you? We were talking earlier in the chat, Brewski. Anyone who's, let me explain. This is important. This is so you know what's coming in November, right? Let me tell you quickly about November. You may have seen this video. If you didn't, make sure you see it. It's very nice. Like, I'm working on digital twin of Dubai. And of course, you have seen this video. One of the most common questions I get, which program I should learn to visualize and showcase my architectural projects. Perhaps you've come across popular choices like V-Ray, Twinmotion, Lumion, or Lumion, and other rendering tools. It's a question many architects and designers face, but let's reframe the conversation. And instead of simply asking which tool to learn, let's dig deeper into the outcome you want to achieve with your visualizations. Are static renders enough to present your designs for a specific meeting, or cinematic videos are needed for real estate marketing? So we are working now on production of a course. It's 8 modules. First it was 4. We were speaking with Cesium. They said, hey, 4 is too little, let's make it 8. And I'm like, okay. I went back to my Google Sheets and the Canva slides. So I'm super excited about this project. On November, I'm working on a course that will teach you Unreal Engine. It's in partnership with Cesium. How to bring your projects, how to prepare them, And at this point, I've been asked this question a lot. What program I use, 3D Max, SketchUp, Revit? It really does not matter, because the whole purpose of Unreal Engine is to contain our data, to bring our data and not to work one person. When we talk about a project, there is many people working on a project and they're using many applications, and like a very small like supported few data math, we mentioned like Max, Beam assets and so on. So imagine Unreal Engine as the end destination of your projects. And if you end up with something that's visually beautiful, that's nice. But it's not the end of your project. Your project is more than a static render. It's more than a video, okay? That's why we learn Blueprint, and that's why we learn stuff like Artspace Explorer or Blueprint and user interface to make digital experiences. And that will completely transform how you provide these services in real-time industry. As a freelance, as a studio, as any person who's using Unreal Engine, there is a comment I love. Using Unreal Engine to enable us doing 24/7 what we love. And I'm very grateful and happy using Unreal Engine 24/7, doing what I love. So yes, the goal is on November to release a training program that will teach you how to prepare your data. And when I talk data, 3D data, and it doesn't matter what program they're made, because there are principles and things and standards we should know about. At this point, they are all prepared nicely in presentations and working now on a big sample project. There will be 2 versions. There will be a version for my students now in VR Division Academy. You will get early access in around 40 days, 50 days. I'll give you the exact deadline in an upcoming stream, or we can put it on the website. And this one is as easy as Artspace Explorer, but much, much more modular, because we're creating many. So far, it's just me. I'm studying all the user interfaces and making these modular, customizable, and the khulasa. How can I say khulasa? So I don't know how many hours, but I calculated this is like 40, 50 hours minimum of training for this course that we're starting now, and it's lasting 4 months. The final product, or 8 hours of these, like very important 8 hours, accelerated learning to Unreal. So if you're a beginner, that's exactly for you. By the end of the 8 training modules on November, you will be able to first, we're gonna have a beautiful sample project, and we're gonna release it for free, thanks to our partnership with the amazing people at Cesium. It's for the whole community. And we also have our own academy, because we are an authorized training center. We want more students, more people. So anyone who's learning Unreal Engine across multiple fields, but now if you're looking for Blueprint specifically, this is the best place to join us for the next 4 months, because that's everything we're doing. We're doing complete user interfaces rehaul, making the blueprints modular, and creating some really nice, awesome interactive experience. And yeah, there is a lot behind the scenes, not only Unreal Engine. So if you want to learn about this is the best way the best time to join us. And right now we have a very special offer, limited seats actually. Every time you enroll, or any student enroll, for the next 10 days maximum, let me just quickly open that page, because I don't want you as a student to study alone. And even when this offer ends, we're gonna find you a buddy that you can study with if you prefer. But for anyone who enroll now in our course to learn Unreal Engine, you can tell us, hey, I have a friend. Just give us their name, their email, and we can create an account for them. Everything you will get for this offer, in this price, in this 9 days, 100% you can invite someone who can study with you, and you can ensure they will study with you. So we can create 1 or 2 projects together if you want, hey, both of you to work on one project, or to each pick a smaller project, your bespoke final project, and have the final project on November. So whether you are a paid student or watching on YouTube, inshallah, on November, the goal is to have everyone creating their interactive experiences with Unreal Engine, and we can see where we can take it from there. So 2024, let's get all up to speed. know how to prepare our projects, how to name our projects, how to work with data math, how to learn the basics of Blueprint, and much more than the basics. Get okay, now we have all our beautiful experiences where we can take it and the user, like the different case studies, and that's what I'm really excited about. I'm really excited how you guys gonna use the project in your case study for your people, for your clients, whether you are in real estate phase or you are in the design and conceptualization phase, and so on. I forgot what I wanted to say, but I'm really, really, really excited about our comeback to YouTube, to VR Division Academy, and I can even say it. I canceled some projects just to focus on YouTube and the Academy because for the past year, 2 years, like I've heard from my friends and some fans, thank you guys. Where is Yahya? I was just doing projects, man. It's so hard to do the studio and the YouTube at the same time. As you know, like there is real life. I am doing projects all the time, and you cannot do both. So I've decided with our partnership with Cesium, big thanks to Cesium, big thanks to Epic Games for supporting us at VR Division, for looking at our curriculums and say, hey, you are onto something nice, let's do it. So if you are excited about this, if you want to support us, the minimum you can do is just leave a like. I would really appreciate it. And the maximum you can do is spread the word and tell other people, hey, there is this stuff coming in November. Hey, if you want to learn Blueprint, there's a boy Yahya. You can check out their academy. If you want to learn other aspects of Unreal Engine. So I get many questions. I don't know Unreal Engine yet. Am I gonna get anything else? Yes. This is also a special offer. When you buy the Blueprint course, you will get access to 2 courses I've produced in the past years. One is called Unreal Engine Foundations, where we cover everything as a foundational knowledge about the engine. And the second is for creating architectural interiors and how to prepare meshes on small scale projects. So it's a step-by-step process. And the way I envision this is modular training, where Unreal Engine makes massive updates on the materials. All right, no problem. We have one class or module on materials and update that. So I'd love your feedback on YouTube, on the Academy. Send me an email, leave me a comment. Come to the Academy, chat with us, chat now. I'm reading all the chats and I'm sometimes even like I'm here answering questions with my team. And thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I know I talked so much about this, but I really wanted to share with you the updates. And definitely, we're gonna have some amazing motion graphic stuff and like everything about Unreal. So the reason we're learning modeling tools today is because we're gonna talk about motion graphics and others and just keep everything in Unreal Engine to create awesome stuff. Look, flying chair. Click accept. All right. I didn't expect for the basics to take much long. So this is the pattern, and we can do pattern on pattern and come up with weird things. I think that's the thing when we discuss motion graphics. I wanted to show you that project. We can start here, and then we can end with environments, end with interesting projects, and produce good stuff. You can create a grid. You can even break your computer. And imagine animating a location or a value like this here does not animate, but there are similar tools like this in the motion design tools to achieve similar results of what you're seeing here. Very interesting. So we can select the patterns, isolate our selection if we need to. To isolate any mesh, it's a custom shortcut. When you go to visibility, show selected, show only selected. So these are my custom shortcuts. I can usually isolate my selection, make sure that's what I want to delete, and unisolate and continue. So we have subdivide. This is pretty self-explanatory for people with 3D experience, but if you don't have 3D experience, this will basically make the edges smooth based on how many edges are distant from the edges. It's kind of complicated, but not complicated actually, but to demonstrate, if you make a duplicate of this, actually let's just make it on something simple to demonstrate. So here's a box, and let's make a duplicate of that box. Go to X form, duplicate, so ensure it's a duplicate. And now if you go to model, subdivide, you can see it has a very beautiful edge compared to this box that we did not subdivide yet. Now, before we subdivide this box, I want to add a loop to one of the faces. So we will go to model, polygroup edit, then edge edits, and shape edits, insert edge loop. And I want to put it as close as possible to this face. And let's put this one here on the top, why not? And let's click now done. And as you can see, because we have show wireframe enabled, you can see what's happening. And I like to keep this on to see what's happening. So now, obviously, if we subdivide this, click accept, you can see, because we added a support loop, we call it, a loop that is close to the edge, it's now still smooth, but much sharper compared to this one. Let's say you've done that, very good stuff, but if you look, this is very high poly. What do we do? No problem. Let's make a duplicate. Let's press Shift 5 again, and let's try some of the mesh reduction tools. So when you go to mesh, we have remesh, we have simplify. These two we can try. So click on simplify, and it does its best to simplify the mesh, to retain the shapes we want, and you can change between simplifiers. So you have QEM, normal aware, standard. These are like different algorithms to simplify what's happening. So you can put it 100%, it's not simplifying anything, or you can reduce. And this is good if you are in a rush, or if you know this mesh that you're simplifying now, it just does not matter. Like you don't want to send it to a 3D program to simplify it and send it back. So that's a good thing to have, the simplification. I forgot to make a duplicate of it, so look what happened. That's fine. So we also have remesh, and that will technically remesh your mesh. So if you were not happy with this, and technically we should not be happy with this, because we should maintain, it's not a rule, but maintain nice topology, and it's different from person to person. We'll not talk about that today. Let's talk about remesh, and we have the number of triangles, more or less, and it's different from mesh to mesh. This works perfectly, for example, on Quixel Megascans assets, the organic assets. But when you're working on an asset like this, as we saw here, simplify is much better, because this will ruin the hard edges we have. So let's see if I have this one of chairs that I did in the past. Sorry, not stairs. And it's very high poly, I think. Kind of. So we can simply remesh such an object, sculpt on it, or whatever. 50, nice. 500, where is this? 15. Unreal versus Blender, which one would you choose? I know 3ds Max and V-Ray. What do you think is the actual future? I don't think it's about the tool, Somish. The future is interesting. The future, Blender as open source tool is definitely here to stay. when we compare it to private companies. And I'm not saying anything bad is going to happen to Autodesk, but in terms of the future, Unreal Engine or game engines or interactive experiences are the future. And that's only the future if you look at what is on the cutting edge, what people are looking for, and contribute to that by research and development and building a case study and so on. The future is definitely for digital twins. So if you search for digital twins and learn more about them, it's definitely very interesting and there is so much potential there. And all programs we use support the creation of digital twins, but data will definitely end up in a game engine that can be Unreal, Omniverse, or any other game engine. I hope this answers your question, my friend. So for jacket, like this one is special for different type of data. It works like if you have a motor and there is data inside it, and like it's very useful, but not in this scenario. Wheeled, we spoke about it earlier. Triangle edit, this is very important. I use a lot. And you can simply click, drag, and edit the triangles, like so. Let's select a better mesh. Yeah, so here's a better mesh. We can, do your selection. And of course, if you don't want to select by mistake things, you can disable the vertices because vertices are easily selectable. You can easily select this. So if I don't want this, I just want to select the faces, disable them and select the faces and you should be fine. But be careful from doing this. You need to press Ctrl and hold to deselect. Okay? That's in triangle edit. Now, if you go to triangle select, you will have a brush, not a marquee box. And if you click once, it will select this for you. And I use this a lot, by the way, this tool, select triangles, because it has these basic operations that are useful for me. Separate, flat fill, flat fill, and a few others. So if I want to, if I have like a mesh with multiple elements, I can select just a little bit and flat fill, it will select everything for me. And then I can click on separate. So that's one thing. If you press shift and click, it will remove. But now I'm not clicking anything and I will click again, it will add. So let me clear. You simply need to click and draw. There is no need to press Ctrl or Alt or anything in order to add selection like I'm doing now. Okay? If you want to remove, hold shift and move and it will remove. That's how it works. So invert, select all, grow, shrink, flat fill, we spoke about it. Triangle, I've never tried this before. Expand to materials, makes sense. Optimize border, nothing really. Depending on the state of the mesh, sometimes nothing can happen. You can delete, disconnect, and keep it the same mesh or separate. It will be in a separate mesh. Flip normals. This is actually very, very useful. We use it a lot. Sometimes you import a mesh and it's kind of weird or flipped. So this is one of the ways you can flip the normals. And when you click on a flipped normal, you can see from these boxes here that, yeah, something is wrong. Because if you go to the other faces, you can see like, yep, it's looking great. So let's click invert, flat fill, clear our selection. Now I wonder if there is a way to select flipped normals only. That would be cool. Expand. There must be something about, let's say, let's click accept. I'm interested actually in this. So if you go to Xform, what about deform? I'm not sure. I will look into this later. So I'm pressing Ctrl Z multiple times and going back to our selection. Okay, here nothing really, but the key takeaway, separate if you want to detach two elements. Let's talk about that actually in this project. Okay. Here, let's say for any reason, you want to separate this asset from this asset. So you press Shift 5, you go to Mesh, Triangle select one of these, Flat Fill, Separate, Accept. That's it. Now this is separate, and this is separate. If this is annoying, you can press here R set near clip plane to 1. Okay. R dot set near clip plane 1. You can see what's up. And yeah. So if you make duplicate and we decide we want to remesh or optimize this duplicate, we can do that. So I will go to first create. Sorry, Xform, duplicate. Let's say it's too much. That's the problem with most V-Ray assets. They always like over-exaggerated with their models. These, sometimes it's just easier to fix them here because, I don't know, it's just less than fixing assets that are already in the first, I don't know. It's better actually to build your own library. But I love this here as an example. So here, if we go to deform, sorry, I got a message. Let me just type. No. Model. Nope. Mesh. Simplify. Let's say we want 20%. It's not perfect, especially if you go extremely low, but it's good. And it's even more than enough because this is, again, this is like an asset you see from here, right? Or from here if you have like cinematic reasons. Now these happen because the reduction and how the triangles are, it's definitely not the best way, but this like should not have been done like this in the first place. Like when we export our meshes, we should not export the V-Ray meshes, if you know what I mean. Okay. Moving forward. Deform, model, subdivide, polycut. Polycut is very cool, and plane cut as well. So when you have a mesh, with polycut you can have a shape that you can cut through. So we have now this shape is cutting through our mesh here. Trim, insert a polygon. So you can change the mesh. We also have, so I don't know if this is working or not, but for anyone who just subscribed or in general, thank you so much. Jose? Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name, but thank you. All right, can change the mesh and we can change this back to cut through so we can see the effect. And you can change by typing or sliding the values here. Or if you will, you can even draw your own shape and cut the way you want. And this is, if you are a motion graphic designer, now you can see the power of this. And again, this is to answer a question from earlier, like how do you see Blender and Max and all the guys? Like, listen, it's hard to model stuff in Unreal and you need to know the tools. And once you know the tools and get creative, it's really good. It's really worth it. But you need to be willing to fail multiple times and like to try new tools that are really not perfect and not complete in any way, but they can really do a lot. And I can see so much potential when I like have options like this and just like that. These elements, like select this, motion design. I don't know if I can fail it now. Make it flying, like not flying, I mean, let's stay in the modeling mode. I got too excited. Motion design, get out of here. Okay. So we have this. Very cool. Plane cut. It's exactly what it says. It's a plane and it cuts. You can rotate it. You can flip it. And yeah, good stuff. Mirror. It's exactly like symmetry. So let me show you a cool example. Let's say this, if you want to mirror it, it's mirrored, but also you can make it intersect. And come up with interesting shapes. This looks like a building logo now on the top, like let's do it. Control C, like let's say this part here. It's somehow still pasting empty meshes. I don't know why Unreal keep doing that. Step. Okay, Control C, paste, rotate. Whoops. This is what I also like to call happy accidents. With the symmetry tool, it always happens. Happy accidents. I love symmetry. Yeah, this is definitely an accident. So model, we discussed the basics. Now deform, there is good stuff here. And my PC is stuttering in a bad way. That sucks. I hope it does not stutter on your end. Okay, so lattice is very good modifier. And if you use FFD box modifier in 3D Max, you know what I'm talking about. So you can set the number of points and then you can manipulate the mesh. And we can do this to a real example. So let's press Shift Space and see if we have anything of Quixel Mega Scans. I've deleted some assets. Yes, I did. Let's go to Quixel Mega Scans. Edit. Let me sign in real quick. Please sign. Oh, come on, bruh. It's not signing in. Something is weird. I put my password and all, but it's not working. So we're gonna ignore this. We're gonna work with what we have. Hey, we have a nice chair. So let's go back to the modeling mode, go to deform, lattice, and see how this can affect the mesh. And as you can see, it's very cool. And earlier I mentioned something about snapping. So now every time we move, it moves it by 10 units. And the way I know it's 10 units is because we have 10 units here. So if you turn this off and move anything, there is no restrictions on how many units it's moving. So if you set it like to 100 unit, whoop, just 100 unit at a time. All right. I'm not gonna click accept. We also have warp and some other modifiers. This is very good if you want to bend meshes. I tried making a book a couple of days ago. It was kind of challenging, but it was also interesting. And it's kind of tricky to get used to the gizmo in the 3D space, but once you get used to it, you can do some interesting things. And the settings, the same settings I can change from here, they are also changeable from here, and they can be 3D presented in 3D space. So you can limit an effect, increase an effect, or rotate it. And have all the controls that you want. So we can also cancel this. We have vertex sculpt and dynamic sculpt. Vertex sculpt will allow you to sculpt on the mesh, but will not add any geometry on top of it. So you can like push and pull, and here we have sculpt normal, we have move, sculpt max, grab, all this stuff, pinch. So if you accept, you know, it didn't add any meshes. If you Control Z and add dynamic sculpt, and let's see, show wireframe. If I want to sculpt, it will add geometry, and then, so let me just quickly click and move things around. So this is move, can sculpt. Yeah, you can destroy the mesh, do whatever you want, have fun, explore the tools, and click accept. Look at this chair. It's, wow, what happened to you? Displace. If you want to make the chair even funnier, that's possible. And you may have seen some of my tutorials in the past where we can create some textures using Quixel textures to create interesting floors or anything. So we can, one of the important tools I didn't mention, but you will use a lot in create, you have rectangle, and you can create like 200 by 200, add some topology on top of that if you want to add subdivisions. So now let's also set this to 10. If we go back to deform, displace, nothing happened on the plane. So we need to subdivide it. Let's go to model, subdivide. You can change the subdivision scheme from Catmull Clark to bilinear to keep it, you know, add few subdivision levels. Click now, you can see, so you can subdivide it even more if you want. So let's say yes, and let's try now displace the mesh. So deform, displace, and instead of texture 2D map, well, technically, if you want to use texture 2D map, that's how you use Quixel assets. And here I have diffuse, normal, only diffuse and normal. I'm looking for the masks, but it's not here. That's okay. Let's choose something like simple random noise. So you can use a noise or you can use a texture, and you can take it from there. There we go. Now you can do this if for any reason you feel like stretching, or where is it? Warp. It starts funny, but if you rotate like this, 90 degrees. And by the way, if you struggle here, you can do that here too. The gizmo location and the rotation. Sorry, so change this, lower bound. If you want to create a studio render background, this is one way, but this is definitely not the floor for a studio render. So yeah, there are all these tools, and I think it's been 1 hour, 2 hours already. I'm kind of getting a little headache, but that's okay. I believe we should do another stream, or perhaps I can continue all that in a video where we can talk about the rest of the tools. And next time we can talk about UV mapping and the UVs and all that stuff. I believe if you want to cover anything specific in the upcoming live stream about the 3D modeling tools, you can leave that as a comment on the video. And yeah, so this is if you're watching in the future. I hope you enjoyed today's stream, guys. And it's so good to see all of you. There will be many streams happening. And yeah, I will be seeing you around. So thank you for being here today. And wow, it's been 2 hours, 20 minutes. So thank you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Let's see if there's any questions or anything anyone want to say before we wrap up. Looking good. I'm trying to... Thank you, Moaz. All right, it seems there are no questions. Everything is good. I want to thank all of you again for being here. And if anyone wants to stay up to date on what's happening, you can visit us on VR Division Academy. And from there, we will send you an email on what's happening. And yeah, I forgot what I wanted to say. Guys, have a wonderful evening. I'm going to eat some food because I think I got some brain freeze because we need foods. I will see you soon and take care.